Meantime, Republican Senator Ted Cruz says the president should apologize for Obamacare in tomorrow's State of the Union address, specifically to the millions of Americans who lost their health care coverage because of the new law. Senator Cruz joins me now live from Capitol Hill. Great to have you on, Senator.
Gretchen, it's always great to join you.
So you expect the president to offer an apology to those 5 million plus Americans tomorrow night?
Well, I don't know that I expect it, but it's what he should do. If he was giving an honest and candid State of the Union address, there are over 5 million people across this country who are hurting. Every time I go back to Texas, I see men and women who come up to me and then they put their hand on my shoulder and they say, Ted, I've lost my health insurance. They'll say things like, I've got a child with diabetes. I'm scared. Over 5 million people trusted President Obama when he said, if you like your health insurance plan, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. We now know that statement wasn't true. And if he was actually taking responsibility for his action, he would, number one, say, I am sorry. But then number two is much, much more important, he would act to fix it. Empty words don't mean a whole lot. Gretchen, at home, I've got 2 little girls, a 5-year-old and 3-year-old, and one of my daughters punches the other. If they just say, I'm sorry, and they keep hitting the kid, it doesn't mean a whole lot. For President Obama's apology to mean something, he's got to stop hitting the American people, stop taking away their health care, stop driving up their premiums, stop making it worse.
Well, what do you make of the news that we just reported right before we came to you, which was the 3 senators that want to offer up their plan to Obamacare?
Well, I think the White House's reaction was typical, which is they dismissed it without reading it. And they're providing no solutions. To the 5 million plus people who've lost their health insurance, they have no answers. To all of the young people whose health insurance premiums are skyrocketing, they have no answers. To all of the millions who've lost their jobs or are forced into part-time work, they have no answers. They don't intend to do anything to fix it. You know what's stunning, Gretchen? If you compare the number of people who have gotten insurance under Obamacare, and according to McKinsey and Company, it's only about 11% were uninsured, about 330,000 people.
Correct.
That compares to 5 million who've lost their insurance. Do you know it would have been cheaper, Gretchen, to write a check to each of those 330,000 people for $1 million each? That would have cost about 1/6 as much as Obamacare, and it wouldn't have screwed up everybody else's health care.
Many other people are talking about Benghazi specifically because former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton this morning, addressing auto dealers in New Orleans, said once again that that Benghazi was her greatest regret, although she didn't go on to say anything more than that. What do you say to Hillary Clinton today, and what do you want the president to say about Benghazi in the State of the Union tomorrow night?
Well, Gretchen, it's interesting. The pattern with Hillary and the pattern with President Obama is virtually the same. President Obama says, I'm sorry you lost your health insurance, but he doesn't do anything to fix it. And so Hillary Clinton today apparently says she regrets that 4 brave Americans lost their lives, that we lost the first ambassador in active duty since 1979, but at the same time, she doesn't want to do anything to fix it. If she really was sorry, then she would stand up and join me and 24 other senators calling for a joint select committee in Congress to investigate why our facilities in Benghazi were not secure, why we didn't respond to the reports of terrorist activities, why we didn't have military assets in place to protect our brave men who were serving there, and why nobody has been held accountable. Not a single person's been fired at the Department of State, and none of the terrorists who attacked us over a year ago have been brought to justice. If she was really sorry, talk's cheap. She needs to stand up and demand action.
Well, what do you think the president will say, if anything, about Benghazi tomorrow night?
Well, you and I both remember a little over a year ago in the debate President Obama had with Mitt Romney, when Benghazi came up and President Obama got all emotional and he said, nobody cares more than I do about Benghazi. Now, to the best of my recollection, that was the last time President Obama ever uttered the word Benghazi. If he was telling the truth, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to assume when he looked in the TV camera and said nobody cares more than he does about what happens in Benghazi, I'm going to assume he was telling the truth. But if he was telling the truth, then I would expect tomorrow, after more than a year has passed with nobody being brought to justice, that he would call for some accountability now, that he would join with me and 24 other senators calling for a joint select committee to get answers.
We will see, Senator, if in fact he says the word Benghazi tomorrow. We'll all be watching. Senator Ted Cruz, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks, Gretchen.